I'm David Mason, the Director of Public Health for the town of Sandwich, and we're doing public service announcement number 17. Today we're going to have a discussion about opening of restaurants and seating flexibility. And today we have Ralph Attacco, the Director of Planning and Economic Development, and Brendan Brides, the Building Commissioner. And we're going to see what's going on in their departments also. We'll start with Chief Burke on an update for the coronavirus status.
Morning, Dave. Thank you. As of May 11th, 2020, we have 11 active cases, 60 recoveries, 2 deaths, no hospitalizations. We did see a spike over the weekend. I think it's important, 2 pieces of information with this. One is the increased amount of testing for people is going to increase the numbers. Secondly, the majority of these newer cases are healthcare workers. They work in other nursing and health facilities out of town. They happen to be Sandwich residents. When they do test positive, they do come on to our numbers. 2 other quick updates. The election is next week. The group's been planning for over 6 weeks as to how we're going to have a good, safe election. So we're finalizing plans for that. And I'm going to mention DPW operations starting Monday next week. It may be a little earlier. They're going to be resuming normal operations, the normal parking spaces. You will be able to dispose of leaves and grass, though the evening hours are still going to be curtailed up as of now. That is subject to change also. But as of next week, the 18th, and maybe a little sooner, you'll see normal operations at the DPW.
So those normal operations for DBW are based on the premise that people are wearing a facial covering, and that's
correct.
The reasoning for that. And also you mentioned as far as the increase in testing, that's relative to healthcare workers?
Correct.
Yeah, just so people don't think there's testing going on out there for the general populace. It isn't as of yet. So as I had mentioned, we have Ralph Attacco and Brendan Brides here today, and we're just getting an understanding of what's going on in their departments. So as far as resources, what's available to you in these areas. And we'll start with Ralph as far as how is the planning department continuing to operate, Ralph?
Oh, we're moving along quite well. I have to really thank my staff for that, Maureen McCabe and the assistant town planner, Leanne Drake. I reach out to them every day. They're primarily working from home, so we still have a lot of projects moving forward in the planning department. Primary among them is we're looking at a new zoning portal called Open Counter. We're still working on the wing school, and we are still working on zoning changes, in addition to some general questions we get into the office, which we have to respond to.
So are you getting, more or less questions while this has been going on? Because as far as, zoning takes a lot of time, and as far as writing and research, so are you finding you're able to spend more time doing that research because you have less going on with the general public?
You know what? Oddly enough, we've had a spike in shed questions. So usually they go directly to the building department, but for some reason, every week we get a couple of questions about people wanting to put in a shed or update their shed or just have a she shed because they got nothing else going on. So, but aside from the shed questions, we are working. One of the big things we are working on is the local comprehensive plan. So the first 2 steps of the local comprehensive plan are one, doing the background information, updating the 2009 plan. So we still have available resources for that. Myself and Leanne, we have access to our computer database, and then we could also reach out to other departments which have been very helpful for us in updating that information.
Very good. As far as, do you have any meetings coming up as far as, because you have the CPA, planning, zoning?
Right. I think I know we've been taking guidance from town council in that we have been able to put off those meetings. Primarily, the major concern is public input, because a lot of our meetings have a public hearing component where we have to have public input. So the few applicants we have had, they've been very understanding, and they've been willing to put off the application till the end of the state of emergency. So, we're looking at for meetings requiring public hearing. We're waiting for when we could let in the public. But we have some other smaller committee meetings which we are exploring the possibility of doing an electronic type meeting.
As far as your staff, you've secured an account with Zoom, and your staff has been managing that?
Correct, right, yeah.
So that's as far as, so as we proceed also, so as we expand more into meetings and whatnot, you'll be coordinating those for all the other town departments?
Right, yeah, we secured the Zoom license for the inspectional services and the departments in Jan Sebastian. So we're the point department for that, to coordinate that.
Very good. And then, Ralph, you're from the Bronx originally, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So how's your family doing down there?
They're doing very well, actually. You're talking, talk about having digital meeting. We had one Saturday, so everybody's doing well. We had a family barbecue via Zoom.
Are you still a Yankees fan?
I will always be a Yankee.
Okay, let's move on. Mr. Brides, how you been?
Good. I'm not from the Bronx.
Brendan, as far as how's the building department been operating, and if you could expand too, as far as one of the timeliness of initiating the Permit Eyes online permitting.
Sure.
And are you getting the permits for these sheds that Mr. Fataco is getting the calls on?
We're working on the sheds. I put Ralph in charge of sheds. He's very good at that, so I figured that was his bailiwick. Prior to this pandemic, probably 2 weeks prior, we took on permitting online, and it's been quite successful. For the most part, it's been business as usual at the building department, with the exception of some staff members working from home. We continue to receive permit applications. We continue to issue permits on a regular basis. Very little change. We've seen very little change in the number of applications for building permits. Our online system caters to plumbing, electrical, HVAC permits, and of course residential and commercial building permits. So as I said, we've seen very little change in the activity. We continue to do inspections. We're typical of any day. Any inspection that's called in before 10 o'clock in the morning, you can be assured the inspection will be done that day. And that applies. Electrical and plumbing is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but building department is 5 days a week.
Just being involved in those and reviewing those permits also, I was rather amazed, this time of year too, as far as the number of in-ground swimming pool permits coming in.
Yep, swimming pools have become a very big issue. They were big last year because of the shark infestation offshore, but now they're big this year because everybody can stay at home and not go to the beach and feel secure that they're socially separated.
So you think it has more to do with that? I mean, as far as if you look at all those buildings permits going on, as far as, Ralph, because you're familiar just with your past profession there too in the banking industry, as far as in terms of the economy and what's going on, would you expect that volume of building permits to still be going on?
I think we both find it a little surprising that some of these major projects are moving forward, but that's a good sign, and we're happy. We're happy that it's happening. We're happy, and I know Brendan and I have discussed this, that we're happy that the building department is open and that they can facilitate these permits and sort of keep money flowing. We look at the zoning, and fortunately, the permits which have been coming in haven't needed any sort of special permit. So, we haven't. There's been no delay in the process. So we're able to keep it going.
Because Chief Burke, because you guys get involved in that permit process also. I mean, as far as with inspections and whatnot, who handles those for you? Is that?
Yeah, so Sean Miller's our fire prevention officer. There is a hold on what we call 26F, real estate inspections, and there's an agreement with the fire marshal and the real estate association. But we will pick up inspections again probably in another 3 weeks. June 1st is our target date to start getting out and redoing inspections.
Okay. And as far as the permits coming in, what's the majority of the permits that you're seeing?
It's pretty much an eclectic mix, as it has always been. We've got a lot of plumbing and electrical, residential, and a lot of additions to homes. Some new houses. We've even had some new in the last few days. I have heard from some of the contractors who've said that some people have cut back on their projects short term, just to make sure that they don't have people around their houses or on their homes. But for the most part, we see the activity continuing.
Yeah, how's your staff doing? Because as far as we kind of have a shared staffing group, and they're all at this time working from home, but
Right.
how are you finding that's working out?
Our staff has been exceptional, I must say. In light of this pandemic, people have stood up to the plate, and people are working from home and doing just as good a job as they've always done in the office. And really very little has changed in that respect. We continue to provide the service that we've always provided.
So I know that the phone system for the inspection office, we typically run 2 lines, but we're running it down to 1 line, and it's Michelle Raymond that has.
Yeah, kudos for sure to Michelle Raymond, who stepped up and taken over a town cell phone to which all the town calls are being forwarded to, all the departments in Jan Sebastian. And she's done a great job. She's answered the phone for 3 departments, along with all the other permitting work that's involved, and she has really gone well above and beyond Call of Duty, for sure.
So as far as when you call, just have a little patience. She's running 1 phone with the lines coming in, and she's attempting to get to everybody's calls.
Yeah, so if anybody should call and not get a response or not get an answer, just leave it for a few minutes and try back again. We should be able to get it.
Or through email also.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things we're going to talk about today too, and anticipating, is the state opening up. One of the concerns is as far as restaurants, and we know that the industry has been providing takeout service, and we know that, you know, people coming down for the summer, you know, we expect that at the moment, as far as, and how, we're not sure how that will work, but one of the things we're looking at is restaurants, and Chief Burke had put together a listing of all departments with regards to what needs exist, and because we're talking about shifting interior seating, reducing the density inside, and allowing them to move that outside for a temporary seasonal operation. So as far as everybody here would be involved in that, so we'll just, you know, what's our game plan here? So what did you find as far as speaking with departments, Chief?
Yeah, so one of the things we looked at, and 3 weeks ago, we started looking at this economic recovery and the impact, and the word that was coming down is you're going to see reduced occupancy in restaurants. So how can you balance that out with those that have space for additional outdoor seating? There are hurdles that come with that, and so we got everybody together, and each department listed out what their concerns would be, and our plan is for the restaurants, they will get a packet, an application packet that they require a sketch, and draw out what their potential would be for adding outdoor seating. And again, as Dave alluded to, it's temporary, but we felt it was important for those restaurants in town here to have the ability to somewhat recover. We know they're doing takeout. Some are doing very well with that. But again, looking at the summer and long term, we figured we'd get on it now before Memorial Day weekend, and we're postured now to be able to start working with the restaurants as we speak, so they're ready to go in a couple weeks.
Okay, because I think as far as, as far as understanding people's new habits and concerns, that we're looking to address that, but also attempting to address the restaurant industry's needs also, because we understand per seat makes a difference to the income that they bring in and the people that they employ. As far as what type of issues, Brendan, needs to be addressed by a restaurant if we were to have the temporary outdoor seating?
Well, egress from any establishment is always a concern, but usually the outdoor seating is not an issue more often than not. The only other issue that we'd look at is that a portion of the facility would still remain accessible to people with disabilities, but other than that, it should be pretty straightforward.
So I think we'd be looking to run like a modified, slim, type of site plan review, because with businesses, we've sat with site plan review. So can you talk about that, Ralph? Because we'd probably modify that a little also.
Right, yeah. You know, as we begin to open, I think one of the ideas was to have a site plan review to go over our expectations on outdoor seating. The good thing about it is that most of our restaurants in town are by right, which means there's there's no additional zoning considerations. So we don't have to make any adjustments to special permits to accommodate these restaurants. So, and I think as Brendan alluded to, is that for outside seating, you know, again, there's some accommodations, some accessibility accommodations, and then again, the restaurants in town are in a fortunate position where they have some space, where they have some. The parking lots are rather large, and with limited seating capacity and fewer people going, we could utilize that space for additional seating. So, this is something again. I had a discussion with the Cape Cod Commission, member of the Cape Cod Commission last week, and they're looking at this Cape wide, which I think is really important to point out. That my sense is the accommodations that the restaurants will have to make in Sandwich will be the same accommodations that the restaurants will have to make across the Cape. So everybody will be on a level playing field.
So I think one of the concerns, because I know Chief Wack has spoken to, is a liquor license and control of that. But we've received some feedback on that, and we believe that's manageable. And then, other than, I mean, what type of restrictions, Chief, is required to control it? I mean, we see restaurants right now with outdoor seating, and we're looking to provide some temporary restrictions. I mean, like fencing. I mean, what's the type of things you see out there?
Yeah, the barrier fencing, definitely. You can't just walk up, I think is important. One of the things that Brendan will look at in my years in fire prevention is if you are going to utilize a parking lot, you need handicap accessible parking spaces to go along with the ADA access. So we need to make sure that we're not impinging on that. And again, with the outdoor seating, again, lighting and barrier protection are the key things. So you can't just walk up. There's some form of direction for people to go, and you can't just hop out of your table and go into the parking lot. So,
Or carry your drink out.
correct. And I think that's that's where the building department and the fire department will work closely with the police to make sure with those plans that they adequately address that, so we don't have any issues. And I think, and Ralph made a great point about the Cape Cod Commission. This is Cape wide, and one of the things and I talked to Ralph over 2 weeks ago. Initially, we had an email conversation about you have to be careful that all the Cape towns are playing on the same field, because if one is lax than another, everybody's going to that community. We've seen that in Florida. We've seen that. We saw it in Mashpee over this past weekend at the ice cream place. So as long as everybody's on a level playing field, and I think the model here is perfect, site plan review, it fits perfectly. Everybody uses it already to accelerate the process. I think we'll be in good shape.
Very good. So we're looking to address the concerns of our local business, understanding the summer economy and the importance of that. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? So I guess what we're looking at then, we'll be putting that out. I think it will probably be coming out of the Selectman's office through Kathy Cogshell, who typically, the application, will have an application requiring a sketch showing that what you're doing to accommodate the necessary requirements, and each department will be reviewing those. So with that, we will end today's PSA. Please be safe. Again, remember, facial coverings are just to be considerate of other people. Thank you.